Okay, hear me out. A new sport. Dishwashing. With gasoline-powered sponges. That's right, it's a motorsport. Welcome, everyone. Here they are. And I hope you're ready. Because it's the good stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah. Feedback. In their most pure and raw form. Post-it notes. I've been playing a lot of 0.3, and I've got some opinions. So, read 'em and weep. I'll wait. All jokes aside, I just want the game to be the best it can possibly be. And this is another round of some jokes, some ideas, some free bingo spots. So let's go ahead and get on into it. I will wait for you guys to read it. That's right, you're going to have to read this one. My eyesight is not good enough. I made the image, but it's too small. For real though, I need to go ahead and get started because I have a substantial amount of things to talk to you guys about in this video. I'll do my best to keep it snappy, but I apologize in advance if I digress. It's highly likely with how many things I need to talk about. So, up first are charms. The buffs feel great. If you're not aware, in Act 2, you now get +1 charm slot from the medallion quest, and then that means a +2 charm belt is far more viable. 1, 2, 3 charms, voila, you're at the max. However, I think this creates a little bit of a problem because on the passive tree, the Hunter's Talisman notable gives you +1 charm slot. The game does not respect that +1 anymore. I thought if I picked up an additional charm slot, the user interface would expand and grant me a 4th square. I was further confused whenever I picked up the Ritualist square for an additional ring, but I'm a warrior. It doesn't work with anything. It's just a visual bug, I believe. I double checked with my charm. It's not a charm slot, so yeah, I'm not sure why Hunter's Talisman exists. But if I could change it, I would want the 4th charm slot because I think that's more fun than just removing it from the passive tree. So let's keep talking about charms a little bit, shall we? Thawing charm is boring. What do I mean by that? This might be a little controversial, but I think being immune to loss of control effects specifically is not that fun. Just do a quick little thought experiment with me, right? What do you think is more fun? Never having to deal with being frozen, or you get frozen occasionally and you can mash WASD or your spacebar or your controller buttons or triggers and break out of it. I think that sounds way more fun. You might think I'm crazy, but I feel like I've played games in the past where there are loss of control character effects, albeit they may not have been ARPGs, and it could definitely get a little frustrating, right? If you're just getting chain frozen and every single one you're going to have to like mash buttons out of it, I'm sure there'd be some fine-tuning necessary in order of like pack density or how many monsters are allowed to apply ailments that efficiently. Maybe it's just like singular abilities, right? They have that effect in the game that lets you know this is a really dangerous ability. What if there was like a big windup and you knew if I got hit by that, I'm getting frozen, and anything else, it was like extremely unlikely, and you saw like a meter so that just like stun, okay, I'm about to be frozen, let me get out of here for a second and reset this. I think active solutions are infinitely more fun than just slapping on an immunity and never thinking about that part of the game ever again. I want my gameplay to be enriched, not restricted. And I think immunities are restrictive because there are other charms that I would want to use, but immunities are kind of more important sometimes. There's that Asmeri charm that makes me steal powers from wild wisp monsters or something. There's one that gives you onslaught if you've been slowed recently. I think charms should be that. I think charms should be temporary buffs. a little bit of icing on top. I think Golden Charm is a great example. It's a small buff, conditional, not always active. Sure, Thawing Charm isn't always active, but it's an immunity, and I think it's pretty hard to argue that your character just doesn't want to be frozen, and so it has like a guaranteed spot on the roster almost. I don't know. Something that I could compare it to that would like be another active solution would be, could you imagine your character gets ignited, and instead of hoping that you have enough charm charges to no longer be ignited, you know that you have the power to like dodge roll on the ground a couple of times and put out that ignite faster. I just think that that sounds fun. Stop, drop, and roll! Come on! Put the fire out! I'll quit talking about it. I think charms could be so much more, though. This is the skills section, and it's going to be a little bit of a rant. It's going to be a little bit of a doozy. We're going to be comparing some numerical values. We're going to be asking some questions in terms of why one skill gets a little bit more love than the other. Not trying to be incendiary, but I think it's important to talk about the differences between the balance of one skill versus the balance of another. Because not everyone wants to play the meta, right? A lot of people, if you ask me, probably want to just do their own thing and express themselves. So, let's learn a little bit about Rapid Assault. Rapid Assault is a skill that has 40% of base attack speed. Attack damage, level 1 to 20, is going to be 25 to 78% of base attack damage. Perform a series of 6 rapid stabs. The final stab inflicts bleeding and leaves a spearhead stuck in the target, maiming them for a duration. Detonator skills will cause the spearheads to explode, dealing more damage. Final strike deals 312. So 78 times 5 is 390. Plus 312, right? 390 plus 12 is 402. Plus 300, that's 702% damage for one use of this skill. The explosion, which can build up to 5 stages, will in total be about 1500% of effective attack damage. There's a limit, right? You can only have that 5. Doesn't show that it's a scaling value. The quality is a chance to leave an additional spearhead in the target, so you can build up to that 5 faster. But I think it's an important differentiation between to hit an additional spearhead in the target, right? Like your final strike has a chance to hit again, I think would be a much more valuable quality effect. In total, with 5 spears, that's 1500. That's about the same as a single perfect strike. This is not a channeling skill, so it does not have the ability to gain as much more damage. Channeling skills can just kind of get more damage support skills on them due to things like stoicism or there's one that I was using on my Earthquake Warrior, but it's kind of escaping me right now. I think it's a blue gem, but it builds up to like 40% more damage if you're a channeling skill. Pretty crazy. Anyways, I am setting the description of this skill up to be compared to Twister, which is what I'm using on my current Warrior playthrough, my Twister Titan. Let's read a little bit about Twister. Attack damage, 80 to 232% of base attack damage. This is a projectile, by the way. The previous skill is a melee skill. The attack speed is 80% of base attack speed. Whip up a twister with the flick of your spear. The twister moves forward, erratically blinding and repeatedly hitting enemies within. If a twister touches a whirlwind from your other skills, it consumes that whirlwind to create additional twisters that deal more damage. Passing over elemental ground surfaces or consuming an elemental whirlwind will grant twisters extra damage of that element. Let's read a little bit about those extra damage mechanics. Consumes whirlwinds to create an additional twister, so that's an additional projectile, essentially attacking again, and deal 80% more damage per whirlwind stage. You can have 3 whirlwind stages, so that's 240% more damage, which you're almost always going to have. To put that into perspective, that is 6 times the most powerful damage support in the game, which is that channeling one I told you just about a little bit ago, for 40% more damage, right? 6 times 4, that would be 240% more. So skills can only have 5 support gems. This one single line of mechanics gives this more damage in terms of that modifier specifically than the possible amount of support gems in the game can provide. Just saying. Elemental twisters, right, we're not, but wait, there's more! We're not done. Elemental twisters gain 50% as damage of the corresponding type, right? Oh yeah, you get 240% more damage? Why don't you get another 1.5 on top of that? Or, yeah, just 50% of your physical gained is elemental. A drop in the ocean. Insane. This is all on top of that this is a projectile that can pierce all targets, has a duration, and can hit multiple times, approximately every 0.65 seconds. So let me show you what that looks like. Yeah, that's a little bit more than 6 times. That's a little bit more than just 6 times, don't you think? It has a higher damage effectiveness. It has many more than just 6 hits inside of it. Built in more damage stages. And then a free 50% of elemental on top as well. It is not comparable. It's not. It's just not comparable in the slightest. Let me just go over some of my quick notes about how this is just so different. Rapid Assault should have a built-in detonation stage / phase, all right? With Rapid Assault, you have to attack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and, you know, maybe you get an additional spearhead stuck in there. But it's not like you have a counter above your target's head. You just kind of have to assume that you have hit them 6 times. And then you have to use another skill in order to detonate those spears. You can't even just blow them up with your next use of Rapid Assault. I don't know why. It's just, I think, needlessly clunky. I think skills can have built-in combos, especially Rapid Assault. If they want it to have that low of attack speed and that low of base attack damage, I think, sure, why not? Just let it have a built-in detonator phase or stage, and it would be so much more smooth. I really like Rapid Assault, and I'm going to keep telling you my thoughts about it. Where is more damage per spear stuck? If Twister can get more damage per whirlwind, 80% more, right, for 3 stages, why can't Rapid Assault get some more damage per spear stuck? I'm just saying. The limit of 5 spears stuck could also be part of the problem. Maybe you don't get more damage per spear stuck, and then they just remove the limit. I think that would also be acceptable. It's just there's so many limits on this one skill. It's a little baffling when put up next to something like Twister. Which, by the way, I didn't read the full functionality of. There's still additional effects on top of that bad boy. Chance to leave an additional spear is just not good. As I was saying, it should be Final Strike has a chance to hit twice. I don't know. Very, very low base attack speed and effective damage up front. Could be fine, as long as they take away the limit. I think it's fine that it's not like good up front and it's more about the detonation. But don't make that clunky. Make it fun. Don't make me use a lightning leap slam skill in order to detonate my spears. I should be able to have like some sort of thematic animation as a built-in combo. This is my like fever dream, right? I'm not saying that this is ever going to happen. I'm not saying that GGG has to do this, but this is like my dream essentially for Rapid Assault. I think it could be so much fun, right? But it's so heavily limited. It just kind of falls flat every single time I attempt to play this skill. I know there's like a Thorns build that uses it, but does Rapid Assault deserve to be relegated as, you know, Thorns and only Thorns? To me, Rapid Assault could be Zeal from Diablo 2, but with explosions. Could you imagine if this thing targeted multiple enemies as you leveled it up, and then they just removed the limit of spears stuck? I think this would instantly be a top tier skill that is not only good, but fun to engage with. I'll get down off of my soapbox for comparing skills to Twister, but as a little bit of a runner-up, think about other skills, right? We're gonna talk about some other spear skills. Explosive Spear. What does it do? It consumes a frenzy charge to blow up faster. And like create an X pattern. Do you know what Twister does with frenzy charges? We use them on Barrage. Ready a volley of arrow of spears, empowering your next barrageable bow or projectile spear attack to repeat multiple times. Consumes frenzy charges on use to add additional repeats. We are hitting so many more times than just 6 times, alright? Imagine this, but repeated 3 times. And you can get plus to frenzy charges too. Go check out like a Snoobe build. He's going to be spewing out way more projectiles than I am on my Twister Titan. So I hope they don't nerf Twister. That's not what I'm trying to get at, by the way. I do not want Twister to be nerfed. I want underperforming skills to receive the same amount of love. I want Rapid Assault to be as fun and simple to engage with as Twister is. And you may be saying, but Twister uses Whirling Slash and stuff, but I don't know. Something about that Lightning Leap Slam skill just doesn't do it for me. And if there were ever a skill in all of Path of Exile 2's history to be deserving of a built-in detonator combo, I think it would be Rapid Assault. It may be the most heavily restricted skill in the game. I'm open. I'm open to being wrong on this. Please, if I am wrong, show me another skill that has more things working against it. So, that's it. This section's probably not going to take as long to talk about, but I think it's really, really important that I do talk about it, and that is Warcry nerfs. So in 0.1, and I'm pretty sure 0.2, I can't remember actually if 0.2 were the same, but anyways, before 0.3, you would be able to circumvent the cooldown of Seismic Cry by attaching pin support, because Seismic Cry used to only go on cooldown once you stunned an enemy. And I thought that was really cool because it meant that any build could be a Corrupting Cry build if they chose that as a support gem. And I don't know, it felt really unique in that I could be a Witch Hunter Corrupting Cry build, or I could be a Blood Mage Corrupting Cry build, or I could be a Warbringer Corrupting Cry build with some extra oomph, or I could be a Titan Corrupting Cry build. But now, with the way that it works, is you need endurance charges to get around that cooldown, and I think that is just such a mistake. It almost guarantees that you're going to be a warrior playing Warcries, and I don't think that's as fun. I don't think it is as fun to not think about off-meta decisions even being a possibility. Maybe those other choices weren't as good as Warrior, but that shouldn't mean that they can't try it out on those ascendancies. Before, you could kind of level up with Warcries and Corrupting Cry. Wasn't the best, but you could get it done, especially with reduced cost and speccing into like a lot of the cooldown reduction, as well as I think that I can't remember what support gem it is that they removed, but I think it was one that was affecting Warcries as well. I'm sorry, I'm kind of at a loss. It's on the tip of my tongue. Maybe I should go and review my Corrupting Cry build and see if anything else is missing. But yeah, I think it's a huge bummer because before you didn't even have to do the pin support. You could use the unique pair of boots that make all of your stun buildup transform into pin buildup. Again, incredibly thematic, very cool decision that you could make with the unique items that they've given to you. And now it's just gone. It's just gone. I feel like the game has lost something as a result, and I am imploring GGG, please revert Seismic Cry. Just do it. Build diversity makes the world go round, and that is also true of singular skills, right? If things are so locked down that skills can only be played by singular ascendancies, that just doesn't sound like Path of Exile to me. I don't know about you guys. There's also another change. The most recent patch did something to Second Wind 3 to where it will not grant life back whenever it doesn't actually consume a charge or something like that. I don't quite understand it, but a lot of people seem to be upset by that change, and it apparently bricked a couple of people's builds. And I think that that is always a bad thing if people's builds are becoming bricked mid-league. Can't confirm this one 100%, but I saw it recently on the forums, and I thought it was necessary to bring up here as well. Up next are gyms and support gyms, and a couple of ideas that I want to talk to you guys about. I think we should be able to recut skills and support gyms at a vendor. I'm not sure what the perfect process would be, whether it's taking a couple of gyms that you no longer want and then selling them to a vendor and they give you back an uncut gym, or if it's just genuinely you take the skill to an NPC, they charge you some gold in like a user interface or something, you socket it in, right? And you hit recut, and then it brings up a list of like gyms that you can choose from. So I think that that would be really cool and primarily a benefit for getting new players to enjoy the game a little bit more. I myself, a degenerate, will play this game whether I make a mistake or not. Imagine that you're a very new player and that you heard Path of Exile 2 is a great game and you had someone recommend it to you or blah 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 blah, and you go in and you aren't following a guide and you make a mistake. You choose a skill that you aren't vibing with and you're not happy about it. It doesn't feel like it's dealing as much damage, and maybe you changed your passive tree to help aid this skill and that didn't work out either. Well, why not let that player spend a little bit of gold to reforge or recut that skill gem or support gem? Hold on, just support gems in general. How many of you have chosen a support gem that sounds like it should work with that skill that you're using, but it just doesn't because of like a single tagline that is missing? Even though like what rapid assault, it says final strike all over that skill. It says like final 3 or 4 times within the description, and yet final strike supports do not work with that skill. It just keeps coming back to haunt us. Fix rapid assault. But I think the support gem in general was a success. I really do enjoy being able to put the same support gem across multiple skills hasn't really come up in my Twister Titan build all that much. But I think it's a step in the right direction. It was needlessly restrictive. Yeah, I think that's all I can really say about the support gem rework. Besides, the tiering system is kind of weird. Can anyone resonate with this? Pin 1 and Pin 2 build up Pin. Pin 3 has completely different functionality. And instead of building up Pin, it cannot build up Pin. But when it procs Pin, it makes that Pin last longer and some like other hodgepodge of effects. Should that Pin 3 not just be called a different support gem and have its own tier? Why does tier 1 and tier 2 result in like a linear like gain of power, like you're on a graph or something and it's just like going on a slope, and then the third tier is just as if Picasso came by and decided to show you his latest vision? I don't know. I think that it's fine that support gems may change functionality or add functionality or do this, that, or the other, but if it's going to be this tiering system, make it intuitive. Especially don't make it into something like Rapid Attacks 3 to where you get more attack speed in Rapid Attacks 1. You get a little bit more attack speed in Rapid Attacks 2. And then in Rapid Attacks 3, sure, you get even more attack speed, but at the cost of 50% less damage. That's just not fun. I think that we can be a little bit smarter about how we limit the power of players that isn't just chopping damage in half or... Oh, I don't know. I don't really feel like that as a tier 3 additional effect is exciting. Why not something like, if they're going to do additional functionality, first off, name it something else instead of the third tier of 2 other supports that do something entirely different. And then make the change of mechanic actually good in the long run, but just bad up front, right? Like it's more of like a ramping decision, or I don't know. I'm not some mechanical master in terms of game design. I just know whenever I look at some of those tier 3 supports, it feels like a miss. And when I was going into this season, I was anticipating the higher tiers to feel like awakened gems from POE1, and that's just not really how it ended up shaking out. Lineage supports. Lineage supports are all over the place. Some are insane, like Rakiata's Flow, and then others are completely horrible, like Kaum's Madness. Kaum's Madness comes with less attack speed, less damage, and less AoE, all for 3 additional fissures. That's not all, though. Kaum's Madness is pretty picky. It does not want to be next to other fissure supports. So it's either Kaum's Madness or the high road. You better get going if you're not choosing Kaum's Madness. You wanted to fissure stack? No, you aren't. Branching Fissures is another support gem that is better than Kaum's Madness. It has a less damage modifier, but you know what it doesn't have? A less AoE modifier or a less attack speed modifier. On top of it all, Branching Fissures specifies that the fissures it adds to your fissure skill are branching fissures, so that the less damage modifier only applies to those additional fissures. So it's like you get AoE, you get free damage, and there's not really a tangible downside, right? Sure, it's taking up a support slot, but compared to Kaum's Madness, the regular support gem is light years beyond whatever Kaum's Madness is hoping to achieve. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like it exists in the same game as Rakiata's Flow. What does Rakiata's Flow do, you may ask? Well, it takes elemental resistances of the target hit by the supported skill and inverts them. If your target has 75 fire resistance, it now has 75 negative, like negative 75 resistance. Sorry, I was starting to say that wrong. Negative resistances, okay? No downside. Just slap it on. You're good to go. Here we are at the gameplay and in-game section. This is the bulk of where my feedback is going to be coming from. It's going to be all over the place. There's no real rhyme or reason to this section. And before we get into it, I really want to emphasize, I really have been enjoying 0.3, guys. I think it's headed in the right direction. I've been enjoying it more than 0.1 and 0.2 combined. I've got one character at 95 and then another just about at 93. I may even make another before the season is over. We'll see. I still need to work on my POE1 achievements before 3.27 arrives, which is coming sooner and sooner. So, yeah. I think they've done a great job. All my criticisms already said and all my criticisms to come. I really have been having a blast this season. So, gameplay and endgame, right? Inflation spirals out of control too quickly in Path of Exile 2. Right now, let me show you. Divine Orbs are worth 870 Exalted Orbs. I feel like that shouldn't be normal. At the start of the season, that number is much, much lower. Now, this may be due to supply and demand. A lot of people have finished their playthrough of the game by this point. But I don't know. I can't tell if this is because there are bad actors seeking to take advantage of the system in place, or if this is just the natural course of things. Oh, it went down a little bit. I can get 2 Divine Orbs for 1,729 Exalted Orbs now. What a steal! I won't try and beat that dead horse too much. I'm sure there's other content creators talking about it. Show rare monster icons after killing the map boss. Right now, in 0.3.1b, the monster map icons are gone since the map boss has been included in every single map. Sorry, I've got sniffs a little bit. I really enjoy that map bosses are now in every map again. But after we kill that map boss, please show us where all of the rare monsters are. I think this is a happy compromise between the best of both worlds, to where we're supposed to discover the map, we're supposed to find the boss and kill it as the objective, and then, as our reward, ideally, you get to see where all the goodies are in the map, besides the additional content, right? The additional content can still provide some of that allure to search out every little nook and cranny of the available area. That's all I've got to say about that. I really do hope that is how 0.4 would be. I think it would be an absolute dream. Buff boss loot. Buff it. It's not good enough. Whenever I kill a boss, which is a rather threatening encounter, I would like it to feel almost as good as an Abyssal Trove. Abyssal Troves are awesome. Almost always you're getting something good out of them. I want a boss to feel like a half step below that or something, right? Like maybe not as much raw currency, but you're getting just more, right? It's got to feel more than a rare monster. It shouldn't feel like a large abyssal chest, because I feel like a large abyssal chest is just like dropping divine orbs and tons of currency sometimes. Remove the divine shrine and immunity modifiers. You heard what I said about immunities for charms. Immunity modifiers on monsters are no different. It's not really fun. I don't even want to be immune myself. I think the divine shrine deserves to be removed as well. I think the same thing for POE1 on this subject. Don't like it. Just, it's frustrating whenever you're vibing and then suddenly stuck in a room with a bunch of immortal monsters and you can't quite figure out which artifact that is being torn in half from the action happening on screen is the divine shrine, right? You got to have that like knee-jerk reaction. Not the knee-jerk reaction I want to be having, because sometimes it's like you can click the right area, but it just doesn't happen for some reason or the other. So I personally find Divine Shrine frustrating, and immunity modifiers ought to be a thing of the past. Let those die with Diablo 2, or let them stay in Diablo 2. I still enjoy Diablo 2 every now and then. Buff tablets and give them more variety. Yep, I don't know. Tablets just don't feel exciting enough. They do things, but I don't feel like they do enough. There's also a concern amongst people that the syncing up of tablets is a little frustrating. Some tablets have like 10 uses, others have 4. It's a little funky right now. Hopefully it irons itself out. Hopefully they keep trying different things. Allow us to recombinate tamed companions, or we could recombinate skills in general. I feel like this is one of my crazier ideas. Whenever you're playing with a tamed companion, allow me to show you, they can have up to 4 modifiers. My companion, the frozen mandibles, or cocaine ant as the community likes to call it, it's giving me a haste aura and a trail of lightning. In my inventory, if I find a couple of them, they've got other modifiers. What if I could take 1 or 2 of them and put them into the recombinator? I think that would be so cool. I think that would be absolutely awesome, and the implications would be huge, right? Like, what if in the future we could take Whirling Slash or Twister and combine it with another skill? What if the recombinator and part of its glow up was being able to smash skills together like some sort of mad scientist? I personally love that idea. GGG has my permission to steal it. Skill targeting gets a little weird on ramps. Elevated terrain. Specifically, I noticed this on Forge Hammer a lot. So where if you're on a ramp, or say you're below the ramp, right? You're at the bottom of the ramp, and there's a monster up at the top that won't come down. So you decide to hit your Forge Hammer button, and your mouse is directly on top of that sucker. And what does your character do? He does a big ol' wind up and whips it out to Timbuktu. He sends it flying into nowhere. It might as well just have gone home. It's pretty funny every time it happens. I can't throw my hammer uphill. Why did it throw it over there? Why did I throw it to the left? I had my cursor absolutely over there on the hill. But it's obviously not intended. I hope that they'll fix it. It can also happen in the Colossus, or the Valley of the Titans encounter boss. He happens to be like this giant monster, right? And he'll spawn out of this pit of magma. Why is this fight so bugged for Forge Hammer? Did they fix that? I swear to God. Puts the slam down there. Why can't I? Bro, this is like really bugging out the game. It just takes my Forge Hammer. This fight is bugged for Forge Hammer. Late game anyways. And you're on this like risen platform. So you'll target him, and instead of throwing your hammer at the edge of the platform, you'll instead dunk it. You'll like dunk it down into the pit of magma, and it just bricks itself for a little while. I guess it could qualify as a bug, but you can't recall your hammer as if it were exploded. It's pretty funny as well. I'll try to include a couple of clips for that. Chaos damage just feels like a little bit too extra. It's got too much oomph behind it. I'm not saying completely drain its power. I'm saying like maybe 5% or like 10% off the top. It just feels just a little too threatening. I'm not sure what damage type some of the abyssal monsters like Degen Aura does. But man, when there's multiple of them, you just die in the blink of an eye as a life character. And I feel like my life regen is pretty decent for a low investment anyways. In general, that Chaos Degen Aura, and I'm almost certain it's chaos damage from those abyssal monsters. It can stack. I don't know why it can stack, but if multiple of them have that aura around you, it's insane. There is no hope. Maybe it's been fixed by now, but I definitely felt that was an issue while playing through 0.3 this time around. Skills can go on cooldown if you cancel the animation. Let me show you. Maybe I can show you with my mark skill, or maybe this is unique to Warcries. So, my mark has a cooldown skill. Or sorry, a cooldown skill. A cooldown, I think. No, it doesn't. So I need to get a skill with a cooldown to show you. Ancestral Cry. We'll use Seismic Cry for this example, huh? So with Seismic Cry, I'm going to go to use it, and then I'm going to panic because maybe I got hit by like a monster and I needed to like get out of it. So I didn't activate my Warcry, or I at least didn't get the buff, but it did go on cooldown. Sorry that I'm saying this in such a weird way. It's difficult for me to come up with all of this on the fly. So that's what it would look like if I got it off, right? But you can put it on cooldown even though you get no benefit from it. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that that's fun. It personally frustrates me anytime that it happens. And it's very consistent. Like 100% of the time I can replicate this. All you have to do is dodge roll or any movement skill with a skill that has a cooldown, I'm pretty sure. And you can cancel it out and put it on cooldown. Which I just don't think should be the case. I really do believe if you're gonna cancel the animation, you shouldn't get the buff. Mind you, you should not get the buff if you cancel the animation. But it shouldn't go on cooldown. I think that that's just a little too punishing, and it certainly frustrates me. The game isn't zoomer coded enough. Sonic Racers is clearly winning the game and GGG needs to catch up. Remove movement speed from anything but boots. No movement speed on the passive tree. No movement speed from the ascendancy. We are existing in a world where 50% or more of the player base is playing Deadeye. I think row amount is fine, maybe in need of a slight adjustment, but why do we have movement speed on the passive tree? I don't think that that should be a thing. I don't think it should be a thing for ascendancies, and maybe that's controversial, but that's how I honestly feel. I think that it just is too much. More life nodes, or buff strength. If you really don't want to buff warrior too much by providing them more life nodes on that side of the tree, just give strength a little bit more of an oomph in terms of flat life. That could be a potential solution, because life versus energy shield is still comical at best. MP is doing the highest energy shield ever achieved, and it absolutely dwarfs anything a life character could ever hope for. Obviously, they're doing some shenanigans like, what's it called? 40% more defenses from doing Trial of the Sekimas, probably. I know that they did that in their POE1 attempt for the energy shield record. But it really does just go to show that they only reach such high values with those shenanigans because the starting value is still pretty ridiculous. I don't even know that I want energy shield nerfed. I think I just want life buffed. I would love for an average life character to reach about 4,000 life. And that would be with like significant investment, obviously. Because if I go a two-hander and I don't go Giant's Blood, it feels like I'm just giving up so much. And then Giant's Blood has the massive downside now of ripping away pretty easily, almost like 600 health. It's a lot. Armor applies to elemental damage was a slam dunk. You guys really nailed that one. I hope that that does not get changed in one bit. Leave it alone. Don't give yourself more work. You've already got like a huge plate in front of you. Leave it alone. I would love to see some deflection buffs though. Deflection, I think, is good. It's basically spell suppression. But there needs to be more nodes on the tree that increase your deflection value. I think the keystone that gives your deflection the chance to be lucky is obviously very powerful, and it's probably being balanced around that idea of they really don't want it to be exactly spell suppression, or they just want it to be spell suppression light, hence the lower value and the impossibility of reaching 100%. I don't know. You can pick it up through some interesting sources such as Shank-on boots, which are my favorite pair of unique boots in the game now. Why does Act 4 King's March have 2 waypoints? There's no reason why King's March needs 2 waypoints. The town is beautiful. I think whoever designed it did a really good job. Except for the 2 waypoints thing. The boat should not have been on an elongated pier or something like that. It should have been parked parallel. It's a bad parking job. It's a bad parking job. So I hope that they'll do a slight redesign of King's March to where it's not so awkward to walk around. It's a really small note. I honestly don't expect any change, but again, this is just me sharing my thoughts, right? Why are there 2 waypoints? Moving on. Moving on. Offline mode would be amazing. The only reason I'm talking about this is because of my upbringing. When I was younger, we went through a couple of hurricanes that knocked our power out for months at a time. And during that time, I had a Game Boy, and that is what provided entertainment so long as the battery lasted. Didn't last the whole time our power was out, but it was a godsend, right? Like it was an absolute blessing to have the ability to play that without being connected to the internet. And I think that POE2 would do well to provide something similar. Not everyone has the same internet connection, and you know, it can't quite be compared exactly to going through a hurricane if you lose your internet. It's still a bummer though. It's still kind of lame to think that you can't enjoy your favorite game. I don't know, right? Like, is somebody who isn't connected to the internet, like, is their money not as good as the person who is connected to the internet? It's not like the person offline is like somehow going to make less purchases than the other person. That's kind of like how I'm viewing it. Am I like coping at this point? I don't really know. Maybe I'm rambling. Let me know what you guys think down below. I think offline mode would be great. I'm just trying to think of it from every angle, right? Checkpoints shouldn't be clickable in combat, or at the very least, if there is a monster hitting you in the face, right? I'm talking like a small radius. I can't tell you how many times I've accidentally clicked a checkpoint when I am neck deep surrounded by monsters and I have to like change my mouse position and like stop my screen from being a slippery map. I don't know. I've had some of my viewers tell me that it hasn't happened to them once. Then I might as well be a bug tester for GGG because I come into contact with some really frustrating things. Boss stuns are inconsistent. Please standardize their stun durations. Stun duration shouldn't be a weapon modifier. Hear me out. Why is one boss standing back up from me knocking him out like he's in the prize fight for the heavyweight championship? Right? I don't know. Then another boss, I knock him out and he's down for the count. He is asleep. Good night. Dead before he even started like thinking about what happened. It's just a little too sporadic, it feels like. I've noticed it specifically on like, okay, that boss has a really like great ability to get back up. And I've made sure to like check these things in some plain maps that don't have, oh, this boss has more of a stun threshold, or this stun doesn't last as long on this map. I really did my best to make sure that those mods were not on my maps whenever I'm like getting upset. And if I did get upset, it's like, okay, why is this guy specifically just so immune to stuns, even though it says like nothing about that on the map or his like description? So I really do wish that they'll standardize it eventually. Chilled ground is not fun. Big if true. Fill in your free bingo spot, everybody. That's your free bingo spot. Big if true. Loading screens are getting out of control. When I was loading up the game, the loading screen really lasted a long time. Maybe my computer isn't the best, but it's certainly not the worst. Optimization could, you know, certainly have a conversation around it, but with loading screens, it's just the amount of areas that you're traveling to, right? With desecrating items, you now need to leave your hideout, go through that loading screen, desecrate the item, then go back to your hideout through that other loading screen, and then to get into a map, you need to go through a loading screen, and then you get too many items, you need to go back through another loading screen. I'm looking for some loading screen reduction. For goodness sake, you still get loading screens when you're opening your map. Not like the maps that we kill monsters in, but like literally the map that you like look at the atlas with, or your passive tree sometimes. I'm getting loading screens all over the place. I even get loading screens when I'm opening up the microtransaction shop and I'm thinking, you know what, yeah, sure, whatever. I'm feeling a little frivolous. Why not get a what's it called? Whatever they are, the loot boxes, whatever they are in this game. Um, I get it all over. Here, let me just show you real quick. Let me show you. Maybe you don't believe me. Let's look at the map. All right, that wasn't so bad. Passive tree? Okay, we're kind of on top of it. Let's go to our hideout. Loading screen. Now let's check it. Okay. Hey, it's actually pretty good right now. It's just, it's obviously being improved on. I think that much is clear. This is better than what I remembered while going through the season. This is me like logging in after a couple of weeks, I would say. So I think they're aware of it, but it still doesn't quite feel right. Item rarity on gear should have died with Diablo 2. This is another controversial one, potentially. I really never liked in Diablo 2 how the meta was make a sorceress, farm Mephisto, and farm Crypts, and, you know, get as much magic find as you can possibly get on your gear, and ah, can't we just have a more standardized experience? One that doesn't dictate whether or not your build is good because it can reach 150% item rarity? Can't we all just like achieve the same things without one side of the tree just being obviously better, right? Obviously easier said than done. I don't know what the perfect solution is, but I really don't like item rarity being on gear. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't think of it as like this extra angle that I can like invest into. I look at it this like I look at it as like a blight or like a corruption of what loot is. It just it's like injecting drugs into loot almost. It's like, hey, you know, party how you want. Whatever. I'm not your dad, but I think item rarity is only going to continue to cause problems. Not only for things like inflation, but warping the landscape of like what is a good build. It's a controversial one. I know it is. I am not really even positive that getting rid of item rarity on gear is the right solution. I just know that whenever I was playing Diablo 2, I never liked making a sorceress because of how I don't know if obvious is the right word. Obligated? Is that the right word? I felt obligated to make a sorceress because it was the best decision for magic finding. And otherwise, I'm just like kind of screwing myself. Like my favorite class to play was a Zealer. But who in their right mind would make a Zealer as their first character? Hey, it's me. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've prattled on a little bit too much about the item rarity thing, so let's move on. Give players more incentives to play together. I don't personally play in groups a lot of the time. I play on League Launch occasionally with a couple of buddies, but by and large, I'm a solo player. And even still, I really enjoy watching people like Empyrean and his group pop off with like their crazy ideas or pushing content to the furthest. I'm not saying design the game around group play, but there should be some sort of an incentive, whether it's like a keystone that changes the way you engage with your maps or bosses by requiring a certain party size and then like increasing downsides or something. I don't know. But there's got to be something, right? I think this game has potential for co-op, but there needs to be incentives and a couple of other things need to change, obviously. But that's really all I got for the group content thing is I personally am not like the biggest proponent of group play, but I do want to see some of it. What would a Path of Exile dungeon look like? I guess that's kind of like what abysses are, right? Guild gamers log in? I don't know, right? It makes me think. What is group play going to look like in POE2 eventually? Strong boxes should be faster and scarier. That's it. They're so slow. Seriously, I don't ever feel threatened by strong boxes, and it's just the waves of monsters doesn't feel good compared to like the snappy spawning of all the monsters in PoE1. I think there is a modifier that makes them spawn in waves in PoE1, but I'm certainly not rolling my strong boxes in PoE1 for that mod. I think it's much more enjoyable to have them all like burst out and scare the crap out of you. Let us reveal desecrated items in our hideout. Crafting feels much better, by the way, and this is kind of in line with the loading screens comment. Once we do the first run through of desecrating an item and doing that roleplay and unlocking the mechanic, there should be like some sort of hand that like sprouts up in our hideout and like we can slam an item on it and then it goes whoop and then whoop. It's Kulamak himself or something. Maybe not lore appropriate on that, but I think they definitely need to allow us to do it in our hideout. This one is from my girlfriend. Built-in passive tree planner would be nice. So we have POE or POB2, right? POB2 is a very good tool. But all she's really talking about, oops, I hit the wrong key, is the ability to say, I'm level 95. Where can I go with these 5 points? Boop, 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 boop. Just so that she can see a plan and not have to go and do an external program. This is a common, what's the word? I'm really blanking on what the word is, but this is a common sentiment, I think is the word. Yeah. That newer players will have. They'll commonly say that they don't want to use third-party programs, and this is true of like multiple games. I've tried to introduce some friends to like World of Warcraft, and they just do not vibe with add-ons. Like they just did not want to do it, which is fair. It's fair, right? Like that's not really what's fun about gaming is going and downloading a bunch of additional supplementary programs that tell you how to play and make the game digestible. It should be in the game. Now, I'm not asking for a complete planner. I'm not asking for a complete planner in the sense of I want to see what these items would look like on my character and I want to see all the numerical value differences and I want to see this, that, or the other with these items and okay, what if I change this modifier? Nope, not what I'm asking for. I think what we're asking for is just if you're level 1 and I have an idea of what I want to do with my character, I just want to lay it out, you know? Like maybe I don't want to stop every time I get a level up and put the point in. Maybe I just want to lay it all out. I know exactly what I'm doing. And from there, it just autofills it. I think that would be really cool. Maybe it's more than I understand what I'm asking for, but food for thought. Food for thought. The Atlas tree is boring. A couple people have said this. I'm saying it too. This is your second free bingo spot. Wisps need more variety and chaseable items. I feel like the Sirius talisman is valuable, but does that qualify as a chase item? I feel like the charm that's worth like 20 divine orbs or something and lets you steal modifiers from specific monsters is really thematic and cool, and I want more things like that, but it is extremely rare, very unlikely that you're actually going to see that drop. Wisps as an experience just feel kind of flat. I don't really look forward to talismans a whole lot. Maybe they could make us some unique talismans. That would be cool. Maybe talismans just aren't socketable. Maybe talismans are this other item that we equip. I think that would be cool. I don't really like that they compete with runes or soul cores. I think runes and soul cores are enough in that aspect, so yeah. Something about wisps needs some extra oomph, not only in terms of chaseable items, but just chasing the wisp around and nuking the monster leaves me wanting more. Visual clarity is dead. We have arrived, everybody. I guess it was pretty bad in 0.2 with all the lightning spear stuff as well, but yeah, especially with playing Twister and some other projectile skills, it's pretty bad. Abyss is melting my FPS. Not as much since I swapped to DX12 or DX11, I forget which one it was, but yeah, I swapped my renderer and it's a lot better, but visual clarity is at an all-time low in POE3, or POE3, POE2. So, is anyone else concerned as to why the exile wakes up face down and unconscious after jumping into the abyss feet first? Did they like do a flip and turn their forehead into a battering ram or something? I don't understand. I find this to be, it's obviously a small little nitpick. It's a continuity thing more than anything else, but why is my character just flat on the ground taking a nap after it seems like they measured the risk and then, jumped down? I'm expecting them to like land and kind of like tough it out, not belly flop into an emergency room trip. I find that to be one of the funnier details of the season. Infinite Atlas is an eyesore. I have been thinking about this a lot, and I think one of the easier ways to help players navigate such an immense area with all sorts of different nodes is going to be through two additions. One is we need a legend that unlocks icons such as this is a unique map or this is that unique map, right? Like Enzymite Peaks versus this is the Eye of the Storm. You complete those maps one time, it unlocks it on the legend, and maybe some additional effects as well as you complete the rest of the Atlas goals. But the main purpose of this legend isn't for additional buffs or anything. I guess that's just something I had a fleeting thought about just now. What it really should be is you'll type in those things such as Eye of the Storm, you'll type in Enzymite Peak, whatever. It'll come up with a compiled list of all of those areas that you have discovered but may not have yet reached. It will allow you to click said listings, and then upon clicking it, it will take you to that area, right? Readjust your camera to where that location is on your Atlas tree. I think that would be a very useful tool, and I personally like the idea of building the legend as you discover the Atlas. Also, we need a more identifiable trail. Right now, we don't have much in terms of seeing where we've been. All we get is a grayed out node, right? I guess we get green, but it just doesn't feel identifiable enough. We can't zoom out very far. I just get lost. Even after all of the other icons are gone from, you know, additional content and stuff, I don't feel like the green node is enough. With Delve, that's what I'm hoping it to be a little bit more like. With Delve, I can immediately identify where I've been because it's a bright yellow line against a dark background. That's some of my best ideas, I would say. Other than that, if infinite in all directions becomes a problem, maybe the Atlas could just be vertical Delve, right? Opposite Delve, reverse, whatever. And instead of being able to go left and right and down, we can just go up and up and up and up. It's like a timeline, right? Like this is supposed to be like alternate timelines or whatever, so that we have more opportunities to save the world from the Beast and Oriana from corrupting everything. If they need like a lore reason or whatever. We'll move on. We'll move on. I've talked about this before, and I'm going to talk about it again because I still believe in it 100%. And I think that all shields, from tower shields to kite shields to bucklers, they should all be able to block and parry. However, they should be better at one or the other. With tower shields, in my mind anyways, they're much larger, they're heavier, they're slower, harder to move that shield around for a parry. So, if you try to parry, you're going to have to really understand the timing of whatever it is that's coming at you. Or you'd have to invest into faster parry. Or what if parry were a window of opportunity? That's what I think parry should really be, is more of an element of timing rather than I'm using the right base type. So therefore when I press button, that is a parry. But my stun meter just fills up like halfway compared to a block, which fills up like barely at all. I don't like that parry is centered around generating charges and providing damage. I think a parry in and of itself would potentially be enough of a reward if it were just something that you could master. If it were a way that you could express how skilled you are at the game. I think that just sounds more satisfying than whatever it is right now. It doesn't even feel like parry. It just feels like worse block. So my dream is if it's a shield, it can block and parry. But it should be different in some way, shape, or form. Whether that means that tower shields are slower to raise up and bucklers aren't, or if the window of opportunity that is parry is just larger for those smaller shields, then it's kind of like, what is the window of opportunity providing? I don't know. Maybe take away the charge generation and then parry just does not have a stun buildup, but you have to time it right. I think parry has a lot of potential. I don't think it should be wasted in its current form, and I really do think that its current form is a waste of potential. So please think about this, GGG. This is one of my crazier ideas, I know, but I think parry is being squandered. So moving on to my favorite section. That's right, I couldn't wait to talk to you guys about this one. We're talking about Urns. Finally! Buff Urns, GGG, I am begging you. 9,999 out of 10,000 times, Urns don't drop a thing. Nothing. Nada. You're telling me there isn't even a single coin in there? Not a magic item, not a rare item. Maybe once in a blue moon you could hope to get either of those things. But come on! Why are there so many empty urn-like objects in Rayclast? And to boot, why are there so many urn-like objects that behave exactly as urns do, but they're not called urns? They call them pots, or effigies, or chests, or something or other. I know the truth, damn it! Those are urns! Stop lying to me! Are we undoing the life's work of an urn maker? Why does the master urn maker make urns and not put anything inside of those urns? I will continue to smash urns in protest until GGG makes them start dropping things. Unique urns win. Or, hear me out, Urn Smasher Ascendancy. More on that in a little bit. I want to give you an example of what a unique urn could be like. For example, Kalandra's urn. It would be made out of mirrors, right? 10,000% chance to drop nothing. And because it's a mirror, it shatters on sight. Think about it. Second to last section, we're talking about bugs. I'm primarily going to be showing you some clips when talking about these. And I guess I am a natural at finding bugs or something, because my viewers have stopped by a couple times and told me, as I'm like organizing this list of feedback, like, nah, I haven't had a single one of those bugs happen to me, dude. I don't know. Either I'm unlucky or I am a magnet for making these things appear. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start reading through them. Hitting escape and pause not working. We're going to wait. We're going to wait this one out. I've got a feeling. Fuck yeah. I'm ah I'm still dying. What? What do you mean? How is that fair? Man, my experience. This is obviously a problem for hardcore players. It's also probably an issue for speedrunners, as while losing time from pausing is certainly a downside, what's even worse is thinking you're hitting pause and then the monster's just having a field day because you're stuck behind a user interface panel. It was definitely funny when it happened to me the first time. The Kaima Reservoir soft lock. This is a bad one.
Make haste.
Oh my god. That is absolutely becoming a YouTube video. There is no way I am not talking about this. This is absolutely incredible. Incredibly terrible bug. I can't believe you can just soft lock your character and you have to join a public party in order to get from Kaima to the Kaima Reservoir. That's just wild to me. That is still in the game. This is one that absolutely sent me to the moon in terms of being frustrated. I was cursing and spitting fire and venom in all directions. I don't think that there should ever be the ability to soft lock your character. My solution for this one was that we need to be able to talk to Jado and tell him to go meet us back at the Kaima Reservoir. This is an interlude. The interlude most likely isn't going to stay, which is probably why it hasn't been fixed yet. But hopefully in the future, when designing the lore or you know, going from one area to the other, we'll be able to repeat dialogue with NPCs that are necessary for opening that next area. Because otherwise, yeah, it's a soft block and you could only undo it by joining another person's party who's at a similar point but hasn't done that action yet. And the later you go into a season, the more unlikely that is to be possible. Or if you're a solo self-found character, you just have to no longer be solo self-found. Yeah, you know, just ruin your playthrough. Atlas passive trees apparently are not working. This is a big deal. I stumbled upon this post on Reddit not too long ago, and they talk a lot about how 34 of the Atlas passive tree nodes on the Atlas tree straight up don't work. They do nothing. This is a massive bug. They just updated their post too after testing it further. They posted it like 10 hours or something. I'll link it down below in the comments as like some of the references that I'm making. Skills disappearing in tight spaces. Why are my tornadoes not going? That is so weird. That is a huge bug. That is a huge bug. Why do they all just disappear? This is most obvious whenever you're playing Twister, in my opinion. Especially if you were on, like, say, Act 2, the Dreadnought. There's these little bridges that connect the Dreadnought carts, and they are very tight spaces. If you use Twister in that area, there's too many collisions, I believe, and so the game just kind of nopes out, and it's almost as if you didn't press your skill. I think that's a pretty big bug. Not game breaking or anything, but it'll get you killed sometimes, and that never feels very cool to just have your actions not be recognized or invalidated, I think is a better word there. Boss skill animations getting stuck or breaking. This is what ended my hardcore playthrough for the second time. What? No! I just got shotgunned by a bird! As I was doing the bird boss and the spikes that he summons in a spiral. This is in Act 4, by the way. He summons up like a spiral of spikes, but it got stuck halfway through, and I stunned him. And whenever he was no longer stunned, I thought that that animation would finish, but it never finished, and he immediately like jumped into the next skill. Caught me really off guard because I was paying attention to the, littered ground with a seemingly dangerous effect on it, and I got one shot due to how I had changed my positioning and stuff. So hopefully they get that sort of thing fixed. Spawning multiple bosses. This is one that is probably... It was really funny to me the first time it happened. I had no idea what to expect. It happened to me in Act 4 during the Tavakai fight. Messed up my combo.
I must be stronger. The Carly! I must be stronger. No redemption.
What? Why are there two?
This is no redemption.
What is happening? What is happening?
Outsider! I will give everything for vile outsider.
What is happening? What is happening? And I really, really wish that it spawned multiple again, or there was a way that you could get multiple to spawn, because it was fun. It was fun. It was challenging, and it caught me off guard, and I almost knew that it was not intended. Once you see the clip, you'll know why. But once I had failed the encounter with the two bosses, I was just like, one boss is way too easy, man. So there needs to be some sort of like a challenge mode where you just fighting multiple bosses all at the same time. Like utter chaos, right? Something like the Maven's Invitations from POE1. It's just fun, in my opinion. So, definitely felt bad after I failed to do that encounter, and I wished I could have had another chance, but I could see it frustrating certain people. Hardcore players, obviously, probably don't want to fight two bosses at the same time. Invisible abyss monsters. This happened to me a lot before 0.3.1. I don't know if it's still happening. Yeah. Can't really see him. Like invisible or something? I don't understand. What the fuck? I can't see him. He's just invisible? What's happening?
We thrive.
Okay. But I feel it's worthy of mentioning. I hope it doesn't happen again in the future to where new monster types are just bugging out. They would spawn, and you know, there's like that first monster in the abysses sometime that you'll kill it, and then whenever you kill it, it spawns like another rare. Well, whenever that would happen, the respawn would just be totally invisible. Not like the not like the POE1 monsters to where it's like they turn invisible and they like run up to you and slam. No, just permanently invisible, and the only way you could like tell where they were is going to the center of all of the purple orbs spewing out everywhere and like looking for where the meteors were kind of angled around as well. You know what I'm talking about? Those big gigantic green boulders that some of the rare abyssal monsters spawn. Those were the most noticeable bugs to me. Those were the ones that happened to me. I can't comment on many of the ones that didn't happen to me. I'm sorry. I'm sure there's more out there. Last but not least, it's time to get hype! Druid hype. Where is Druid? Swords hype. I forgot to write that one down, but swords hype. Stealthy daggers hype. I really enjoy stealth playstyles or rogue playstyles in a couple of the games that I've frequented, so I would love for Path of Exile 2 to provide its own flavor of that kind of gameplay, whether it's weaving between packs with stealth or planning out my critical strikes in advance, whatever. I want to feel stealthy when I'm using daggers. It's a shot in the dark, but I really hope GGG hears me out on that one. Give it a try. I don't think any other ARPG has done stealth justice, or have they even given it a try? I know POE1 tried to do stealth a little bit, but phase run stealth isn't really even a factor. Does it even do anything in POE1? I don't know. Grappler or wrestler? We're getting onto my more unhinged half of the hype section. This goes out to any ARPG. It doesn't have to be POE2, but I would love for it to be POE2. Grappler or wrestler primarily exists in fighting games or open world games with some, you know, vivid combat. I don't know what else to call it. But I would love to experience what a grappler would be in an ARPG. Maybe it's an unarmed build. Maybe I like grab a monster and now the monster is my weapon. Maybe I throw him on my back and I can now empower my next attack by exploding him through slamming him down or something, or something. I feel like there's a lot of potential there as a concept, and it's not like wrestling is simple either. There's Greco-Roman wrestling, there's showmanship wrestling like the WWE, there's what's it? Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, there's sumo. There's all kinds of wrestling, and for it to not be an ARPG in the year 2025, I think is a disservice to the ARPG community. Food for thought. I really, really do hope that at some point in my life I'll get to play a grappler in an ARPG. Now for my true piece de la resistance. Urn Smasher. The Ascendancy. Hear me out. Hear me out! You ascend, right? You're now the Urn Smasher. Your first node, you become a giant urn, and you must smash yourself to deal damage, shooting out fragments as projectiles and reassembling yourself, all to be smashed again. Am I onto something? I think I'm onto something. Alright, that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hearing out everything I had to say. Thanks for humoring me and some of my jokes. You're the absolute best. I hope you found it informative. I hope you found it entertaining. And please consider leaving a comment, like, or subscribe, as they all help out the channel a whole heck of a lot, and your support is no different. As for the comments, I really would love to know what you guys think about some of the feedback I've given today, and if you've got any of your own ideas about what GGG could or should be working on to make 0.4 all that much better. Because let's face it, we all just want the game to be the best that it can be, right? So, no harm, no foul. Just share your ideas, and I think at some point, if it's good enough, it'll flow through the grapevine, right? What else? Real quick before you guys go, I am working on obtaining my first skill cape in old school RuneScape ever, my first 99 ever. I'm super excited. It maybe not be as exciting to people who don't enjoy old school RuneScape, but hopefully you'll stop by, say hi, share in my excitement, and allow me to show off my sweet new prayer emote from my skill cape. I've been playing old school RuneScape off and on for what feels like a couple decades. It honestly has been a couple of decades. Since middle school, and I lost my past accounts, but with this recent playthrough attempt, I guess you could call it, I've gotten farther than I've ever gotten before. I'm having an absolute blast. RuneLite is probably the main reason why I've gotten as far as I've gotten. I'm not really here to judge myself over that, but yeah. If you haven't tried old school RuneScape, I would highly recommend RuneLite. It completely changes the experience. So that's it. Hopefully you'll stop by. Peace out. Have fun.